Alright, I'm doing 3 videos of my top favorite CDs. I think I'm at part 12. Uh, so, so these CDs, obviously, not everyone's probably going to really like these. I mean, of course, if you like 60s music, if you like, corny stuff, maybe, I don't know, maybe I have bad taste in music. But the 60s, it was such a good time, such a great period of time in music. You had Motown, you had rockabilly, during the early 60s, and then of course you had that wave of those American surf bands, and we had the Beach Boys. But of course there was also another big wave that came here in the States, and of course that was the British invasion. All those groups from England. Of course it kind of started off with the Beatles coming to America. Obviously, that's what really kind of kicked off the British invasion. And you had groups like the Searchers and Jerry and the Pacemakers. You had people like that, and also another great guy too as well. He was a bit rhythm and blues, but he was quite a really great. He was a really great singer. Now, he was very well known for just the Bonnie and Clyde song. I mean, maybe if you were, like my dad, grew up during that time or whatever, during the mid to late 60s. A guy called Georgie Fame, and he had a group called the Blue Flames. This was during his early career, before that song, because that was like 67, 68, that song Bonnie and Clyde. And you also had this band as well, which I have seen now 3 times. At Epcot. I saw him the very first time in 2024. It was kind of like in April 2024. And I saw him last year, and I saw him just recently, just a couple Fridays, 2 Fridays ago. And that is good old Peter Noone. And of course, his band, Herman's Hermits. Yeah, who doesn't know Herman's Hermits, right? I got a greatest hits on vinyl, but and I think this one here, this is not a greatest hits, but this is which in fact the reason you want to buy a set for just one album is since it has 3 other albums. I mainly just got this one, There's a Kind of Hush, which in fact my dad, I'm pretty sure maybe his uncle, his uncle was like, he was in the Vietnam War, and he gave a lot of his albums to, he passed it on to my dad or whatever. He had a lot of Beatles, he had a lot of Mamas and Papas, but he also had, I believe, this one. So we have, so in the collection, the vinyl collection I have, we have this, There's a Kind of Hush, all over the world. And, you got the band in the back there. Some really great stuff, and it's cool to actually own this on CD. Now, I bought this particular set, I think, on Amazon or eBay, I think, in 2020. And that was actually originally the year I was supposed to actually see Peter Noone, till obviously COVID kind of squashed that, pretty much squashed everything, right? Live, concerts and social gatherings and stuff like that. It really kind of killed a lot of all of that, Yeah, but there's a kind of hush all over the world. But there's also some really great ones too as well, including it comes with it actually comes with their first album. And see, the Herman's Hermits and both sides were actually American releases, but I think for There's a Kind of Hush, I believe that was released on both sides. You see, they were just like the Beatles. They had the North American albums. They also had an album called World Tour. I don't know if you remember that. They're on like a hot air balloon or something. Or I think the album's called like On Tour or something like that. But the first one, it's got I think it may have been their first, maybe their second album. I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong on that. But it's got the hits, Mrs. Brown, you get a lovely daughter, and I'm Henry VIII, I am, and they do an absolute great cover of that Skeeter Davis song that I absolutely love, The End of the World. Don't they know it's the end of the world? It ended when I said goodbye. He's got that British undertone, Peter Noon. I love it. It's so fun too. You got a couple of covers. Heartbeat as the opening track, and that was the Norman Petty song, Buddy Holly's song, or I think it was Norman Petty and Buddy Holly. I think he co-wrote that song. Yeah, so I don't know if the red one here was their first one, because I know it doesn't have I'm Into Something Good. I know that was like their first U.S. single. But maybe you can let me know in the comments if you're interested, if you're intrigued. And then also comes with both sides of Herman's Hermits, where they do, that P.F. Salone song, Where Were You When I Needed You? Leaning on a Lamppost. I actually really like that song. I actually kind of went through the CDs since I've listened to it at least a couple of times. And some of the early stuff is actually really good. And I think this may have been from '66 because it has their other hit. It was like a hit or whatever called Listen People. And it came from like a exploitation movie or whatever. It was like a Brit comedy movie. And it features that song, Listen People, which is great. I love that song. Listen, people, do what I say. I say it's got to be a better way. I love the way he sings that song. It's really great. From '66, that one. And I think Leaning on a Lamppost, I believe that was kind of like a hit. It wasn't like really as big. But yeah, the main one is definitely There's a Kind of Hush. And it's a really great album. I mean, it kicks off with There's a Kind of Hush. The Carpenters covered it, like 10 years later or something. And of course, it was a hit for them. I absolutely love Saturday's Child. I know I always mentioned about that song with that really cool hooky riff. Down, 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 down. Monday had a sad child, always feeling low down. Tuesday had a moonshine, I'm in love with Saturday's Child. Yeah, and of course the Monkees, they really had a rockin' one too. But Herman's Hermits is my favorite version. Yeah, old David Gates, he kind of goes back. David Gates into the mid '60s. He produced "Baby the Rain Must Fall" for Glenn Yarborough. Yeah, he kind of goes back before that band that he was in, Bread. And there's also some. It also has like a really good, a good chunk of hits or whatever, like Dandy. That's a good one too. From the Kinks or whatever, the cover. I also like No Milk Today. A really good one, a Gary Goldman song. He wrote Bus Stop and stuff like that. And of course, later to be, his big claim of fame was with 10cc. Yeah, no milk today, my love has gone away. It's a little bit like that British, I don't know what you call that, like flamboyant, maybe kind of, British, It's good stuff. I also like East West, another Gary Goldman song. And I think that was a hit as well. Yeah, if you're thinking what I'm thinking, just fun stuff. And also like, which I think out of the four, this one's kind of like the one I don't really listen to as often is the Mrs. Brown, You Get a Lovely Daughter. Now it actually it's actually a soundtrack from a movie they did in '68. It came out like in August, September, and it kind of like bombed really bad. And it's got like, it's actually got some repeats of songs, It's kind of a little bit like It reminds me a lot of the Yellow Submarine. Like if you're familiar with the Yellow Submarine, the album soundtrack from '69, you know, it's got repeats, you know, of songs. Like There's a Kind of Hush, and Mrs. Brownie Got a Lovely Daughter, of course, that's on there again. And it's got some like other songs I'm not like really, I'm never gonna like really go back and listen to. And a couple of Gary Goldman songs they do as well on the soundtrack. And this is from 2014. So, you know, if you're really interested and if you really like the British invasion kind of stuff, you know, it's quite enjoyable if you like that. Okay, now I'm going to end it off with one CD that I've probably had, probably by this point really just talked about way too many times. But again, I got to show it. You know, it's my top favorite part of my top favorite CDs here, and that is, well, I freaking love this. Burl Ives, The Times They Are Changin'. Now, I know I've read a lot of reviews. It's old reviews. People saying that this is really, really bad. It's trash. It's garbage. What is he? Just talk singing? He's not even like really. He's not really. He's really just not a really great singer. You know, these are like the comments I'm reading. You know, the reviews that I see, but I don't get it. Like, you know, maybe I have bad. Like again, maybe I have really bad taste in music. Maybe there's something that. You know, maybe I just like crappy music. I don't know. But I mean, it's like what can you expect? You know, it's Burl Ives. It's like, you know, and he does 4 Dylan songs on here that I absolutely love. Like "I'll Be Your Baby Tonight" from John Wesley Harding. "Don't Think Twice It's Alright" from the Freewheelin'. "One Too Many Mornings" from Times They Are Changin', and "The Times They Are Changin'," which is the closer song, which is almost 5 minutes, and it's really great. Covers 2 Charlie Daniels songs I love, that I actually really enjoy. 2 songs that Glenn Campbell obviously made popular, "By the Time I Get to Phoenix" and "Gentle on My Mind." Yeah, who doesn't know that song? Bobby Russell does "Little Green Apples," which I know is kind of eye-rolling, but it's fun, you know. And yeah, and "Homeward Bound," of course, you know. But like I said, I don't want to spend way too much time, because I know I already did. I talked way too many times on this, on Burl Ives, and that's all I got to say here. So there you go. Two artists here on this one video. My top favorite CDs. Okay, folks, take care. I'll see you on the next one. Bye-bye.